Okay, so this is going to be my first attempt at content for a long time. So I figure I want to talk about two things. One, I want to talk about um, I want to talk about gender dysphoria, and two, I want to talk about why speed metal is an actual metal subgenre that is completely underappreciated. So let's get the mushy gushy stuff out of the way first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about metal. Um, so my experience as gender dysphoria was like pretty light, to be honest. Well, like as a kid, I don't think I really remember anything like a little kid. Because I just enjoyed things. Whichever like toy was like a cool monster or whatever, like that was my main thing. Like, yes, that's awesome. I like Beast Wars, Spider-Man or whatever, but like none of these things really have to be gendered. It just so happens that baby boomers will gender it for their kids, I guess. Um, because like, when it comes to stuff like Barbie, whatever, there's less articulation. I don't know, it's just not as cool. When you look at like a Spawn action figure, that stuff's really cool. It's got the posability and all this other stuff. But anyway, I digress. So starting from like high school, I remember, or rather just puberty in general, I remember like, hey, every single change that's happening, I absolutely hate. Um, from growing mustache to just really any other changes in voice. It was just feeling wrong. Uh, and then this came coupled with feelings of, oh, I really want to be a girl, but I don't understand that feeling. So I kind of didn't really look into it, especially the fact that I'm like, oh, well, I'm interested in girls, so how could I want to be a girl? That's what gay men do, or whatever, which is really stupid of me. But yeah, I'll talk about like the timeline of how all these events later. Regardless, like the dysphoria I felt before so so. It was like a yearning for a different type of life and all that. But I felt like I knew it was an impossible thing, so I just kind of dealt with it. And as years went on, it just kept bugging me more and more, especially with my hairline getting a lot worse each year. I'm like, whew, boy, if X happened, then maybe I would do something like this. If Y happened, then maybe I would definitely do this or whatever. Well, none of those things did happen, and me wishing upon a star every single night and whatever is not a good way to get a transition started at all. It was getting to the point where it was like unbearable, where I just literally could not function in a day without feeling super depressed, super anxious, and super ugly. Um, and like, what a lot of people don't know is like, even when you do try to treat gender dysphoria with like hormones and gender affirming stuff, it can still be there, and it's going to kind of like haunt you in a lot of ways. Due to a certain circumstance, I'm not able to change my legal name or gender marker on paperwork, so that's terrifying me and how that's going to affect my life. Uh, I wish I can, but in my circumstance, I can't. So that still bothers me. I still feel that social dysphoria about that. And for newbies, there's usually two different kinds of gender dysphoria to talk about. There's physical dysphoria, and there's also like the social dysphoria. The physical dysphoria is stuff like, well, like, oh no, I don't have breasts, or my face feels too masculine, or my shoulders are too broad, or my hips are too narrow, and all these other types of things. And like, I think in a scientific point of view, it's probably because if you're born with a brain that's like feminized, so to speak, then you're going to, I guess it like lays out a map or something, and it's going to let you know like, hey, this should be here, or this is the schematics of your body. You probably should not be as big as you are, or something like that. It's a guess. I don't know. And probably like the same type of thing for FTMs. That's female to male, but I'll let them tell their stories. Uh, so like, yeah, I get both social and physical dysphoria. Social dysphoria is like when somebody is like telling you like, oh, you're a boy, or oh, go look at him, blah 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 blah. These things where basically they're kind of denying the reality that you live in. And I'm not saying like it's an illusion or a delusion or anything, but like it's like if they have every reason to know that you have a particular gender identity and they're going against it on purpose, it will feel terrible. And I don't know why, it just inexplicably is. It's, I wish it could be like, oh, well, I don't care, whatever. But I can only do that with very limited people. You know, especially when things that can cause dysphoria come from people that you try to love, um, like, that's when it hurts the most. I really don't care too much about, like, what strangers think and stuff, unless it concerns my safety. But, yeah, it's not really something I'm in control of. And another thing about, like, gender dysphoria that they don't talk about often is, like, being trans and having gender dysphoria are not the exact same thing. Um, a lot of trans people have gender dysphoria, but some don't. And those who don't have gender dysphoria still can seek out HRT or other types of methods of changing their bodies or something. But I guess to those people, maybe it's more neutral. Maybe they feel like it's too scary or whatever. But for those with dysphoria, like me, seeking out these options to change certain things to help, build up that way to reflect how you feel on the inside and stuff, definitely helps a lot. So like I still have dysphoria about like things like my brow bone, I guess, and occasionally my nose. And hold on, I'm going to sneeze for a second. I'm still waiting for that sneeze to come. No such thing happened. I have been denied the sneeze and now I'm upset. Anyway, I've lost my track. Oh yeah, so yeah, a little bit of nose and brow bone and occasionally the jawline. I think I'm kind of okay. But I do get a lot of dysphoria about like throat and stuff, and the choker is a nice little detractor, I guess, but I think it's kind of cool and I've always liked it. uh, Hips is like a thing I guess I feel dysphoric about because they will never have big hips because like if you don't start HRT when you're like before you turn 19 and stuff, your hip bones will fuse together and it will no longer be affected by like estrogen or whatever type of hormones you're taking. So what's done is done. My hips are the size they are forever. Hopefully I can have a little bit of the fat rearranged to pack a little around that area, but it is what it is. Everyone's results may vary. Um, oh, and I have a little bit of voice dysphoria. I'm working on it. I wish I can get voice surgery. But again, some complications involved in that. If I could get voice surgery, that's really cool. If I could train my voice and keep training it to be in the way I want to be, then that's perfect. But it'll just take time. Anyway, I'm starting to run out of content to talk about with this. Like, I have more, but I can't remember. So I'm going to talk a little bit about speed metal. So, effects. if there was any. You know, it's really bothersome that when people are talking about metal and they're like, oh, here's a video, all 16 genres of heavy metal, and they pull out the most absurd examples of what they think is metal, like, oh, number 1, heavy metal. I'm like, okay. Number 2, death metal. Okay. Number 3, death black metal. Okay, you gonna include black metal too? Okay. Black metal, and then pirate metal. I'm like, oh no, oh god, this is going downhill really fast. And then they're like, number 16, polka metal, number 11. It's like, it's stupid. Like, they bring up the most absurd things, either through, like, a inclusion of a genre's type of, special instrument, or, like, a gimmick, or lyrical themes. Like, that's not what constitutes a metal genre. Look at Gonalok's video about, metal subgenres if you want a good, explanation on that. But almost all the time, when they have these videos of examples of all metal genres, they never, ever, ever show speed metal. And if they do, they play Dragon Force for some reason. And it's like, that's not speed metal. It's not. They're not even power speed metal. Power speed metal is like, Sex Machine Guns. That's a really good power speed metal band. If you want an example of speed metal, I don't know, Warhead's first album, that's true speed metal. The band Vulture is like speed thrash. They're really good. I think Risk's first album is a speed metal album. It may have a little bit of power metal into it, but it's alright. Cranium, another good speed thrash band. A pure speed metal band might be a band like Black Viper. And SDI is another really good example. And let's see. Oh, I have lots of fun talking about speed metal. Vectum is considered speed metal. And a lot of early thrash is considered speed metal too. So like Anthrax's A Fistful of Metal, that is a speed metal album. So like, why people get it confused with thrash all the time, I guess it's because a lot of the bands that used to be speed metal bands turned into thrash metal bands, so it's easier to like conflate them with one another, and sometimes speed thrash is really difficult to discern. But like, you know, who's gonna call Crossfire a thrash metal band? Like, you'd have to be high to think something like that. Or like, okay, so like Crossfire, it's kind of like heavy speed. It's still like speed metal mostly, but I'm not gonna mix up a heavy metal band like Anthem with, let's say, now I've lost my train of thought. The problem is that there's actually so few speed metal bands. Okay. So nobody's going to mix up Anthem from Japan with a band like Exciter, right? Like, they don't sound anything alike each other. Heavy metal is heavy metal. Speed metal is in that cool little cross-section of power metal, heavy metal, and thrash metal. And I can't really give you all the history behind it, but it's one of my favorites, and it has a particular riffing style that you can notice. It usually has that like, you know, they'll have some sort of, I don't know, a crescendo. I don't know much music terms, to be honest, but like, you can tell if it's a speed metal riff. It becomes really obvious. So with like other stuff like thrash, it'll be a lot more technical. Speed metal, maybe melodic-ish. Usually the singing will be a lot higher, maybe a lot more clean. Like, you can think of Trojans Chasing the Storm. A lot of things like kind of influenced, I guess, by New Wave of British heavy metal, but just like a little bit less melodic and a little bit more nasty. Overall, it's one of my favorite genres, and like, I'm probably going to get completely pulverized by people with way better music opinions than me, but my whole point is, speed metal matters. Speed metal is so cool. When you make an actual metal, all genres of metal compilation video, include speed metal. It's got pretty concise rules of how it sounds, unless you're Agent Steel and you sound weird and different than any other speed metal band for some reason. But, oh boy, Agent Steel's last things they released, that's something else. You could check that out. It's quite interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's worth exploring, and it's kind of funny because preceding the new wave of traditional heavy metal that's been happening, we all know that there was a new wave of thrash, which I guess still exists. I haven't really been paying attention to much newer thrash bands, but like with how it used to be, it was like the timeline, I guess in the 80s, heavy metal, then speed metal, then thrash metal, and now there was the new wave of thrash metal, and there was a tiny moment where speed metal was getting limelight, I can't say that, take 5. And then new wave of traditional heavy metal, so it's almost like it was like a, I don't know, a wave or something. Okay, so, I don't know, this is a pointless video, but I hope you guys learned something, either about gender or metal, I don't care, and I'm gonna keep doing weird hand motions until the video is over. So, goodbye. See you, everybody.